This is Rwanda. It's a tiny landlocked country in the middle of sub-Saharan Africa. In 1899, Rwanda was colonized by the German Empire, but after their defeat in World War I, control of the country was handed over to Belgium. There are two main ethnic groups in Rwanda, those being the Tutsis and the Hutu, both with distinct cultures, appearances, and languages. The Belgians, who were dealing with their own troubles back at home, decided if they couldn't rule Rwanda themselves, they'd use the old German system of indirect rule, which went a little something like this. One group would be elevated in order to rule the country in the name of Belgium, and so power would be given to the Tutsis. Across the country, new segregation and racial laws were passed, in which natives would be placed into two main ethnic groups, either Tutsi or Hutu, based on physical structure and characteristics. The Tutsis would then be given primary job positions and government rules, and living conditions, as well as society, would be much more favorable to them. This understandably created tension between the two ethnic groups. The wealth and the power in the country was given to the Tutsis. What could possibly make this system more complicated and volatile? In 1962, a revolution kicked out Belgium and established Rwanda as independent. With the Belgians gone, cracks began to form within the new republic. The majority of Hutus now controlled the wealth and power within the government. With this sudden change in favoring of the Hutus, many Tutsis started to flee the country, notably to neighboring Uganda. That is until later when Paul Kagame and his Tutsi militia invaded Rwanda from the north. The Hutu militia and government took up arms in response, leading to the Rwandan Civil War. This conflict was already deadly enough, but foreign intervention made the conflict much more brutal, as the United Nations attempted to intervene and end the war. The Hutu majority, seeing this war, believed Tutsis were to blame, as the rebel armies were primarily made up of Tutsis, so armed Hutu groups began spreading fear that the Tutsis were to blame for all the problems. In 1993, the United Nations and foreign troops left the country amidst growing violence towards them, leaving the Hutu militias and the Rwandan government to carry out their atrocities against Tutsi civilians without opposition. Over the course of 100 days, hundreds of thousands were killed every single day, with Hutu militias butchering neighbors and former friends with knives, clubs, and machetes. Millions were forced to flee the pursuing Hutu forces and scatter across the African continent, while starving and dying of disease along the way, a large percentage of which were orphans and widows. After 4 years of civil war, Kagame and his forces finally overthrew the Hutu government and established a secular republic where both Hutu and Tutsi would be equals. Almost 1 million people died in the course of 100 days. To put that into perspective, the Holocaust lasted 12 years with 500,000 dead per year. The cost was immense, and millions were left displaced and orphaned, with new nation still feeling the scars to this day. Although the two groups were now legally equal in the country, the government was still dominated by Tutsis, while Hutus had an even larger majority than before. As ethnic tensions in the country continue to rise, we can only wonder what will happen next.